lions and the lioness to tell your own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use a yet an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it's Exodus. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
Yes, Jah people, this is Michael Shemai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes, wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
It's AWTITUDE representing for the lion's voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion, them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes, and we reign and rule like this. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we know Selassie reign and rule. Reign and rule. Selassie, I reign and rule. Queen Omega drop them in the fire. Pull from them, no Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence. Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence. Clash of all sevens. Projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and overstanding, yeah. We hear Jah every day. Hey. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, reign and rule. Yes, I lion vibes, Selassie, reign and rule. Attitude say that. Boondocks, Black Organization of Global Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world. Till the world, till the end.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up lamb's voice. Now put it, I jolly for say that.
Greetings, this is Haile. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Haile said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Jano, I'm so hungry, bro. I haven't eaten all day. Like, my head started to hurt me too. Like, what more could I eat right now?
What about a city samosa? Get your samosa, a fusion of Indian, Jamaican, and African culture. City samosas, the best samosas in the city.
Yeah. I'm a Gideon. Cataclysmic forces. Good over evil. Yeah, for the ghetto youth. Worldwide. I see the youths nowadays, they growing up. Wanna know the truth, they wanna know what's up. They got no fear now, they'll call you bluff. They asking questions cause they had enough. Why? Some gone astray cause times is tough. Some walk with the machine, ready to bust. I'ma give you that things get dangerous. No, none of the ghetto things get dangerous. On the battlefield things get dangerous. Them carry RPG, M16. Got a problem to wipe out your whole team. For American dream, them get scanned and lost. Them put us into the ghetto, try abandon us. Cause we the remnant of the first sons of Kush. Warrior tribes, we not the ones to push. Just look into them history, see we rebellious. That's cause them systems so unjust. Take the shackles and chains, change them to handcuffs. Release your physical frame, them want your brain. Them a vampire looking for blood to drain. Haile, Selassie come and break every chain. Bob Marley, tell them, now we tell them again, yo. We tell them this ain't a game, but this a Armageddon, you got to mentally train. Yeah, I tell them this ain't a game, but this is heaven on earth, or go burn in the flames. Yeah, I tell them this ain't a game, I say I gotta play your hate, cause some things gotta change. I tell them this ain't a game, but this a time for African people to rise. I tell them, earthquake, hurricane, tornado, the wind blows and brings rains. I got the whole west coast in flames. Melt the Arctic poles and flood the seas. Hurricane force winds blow down the trees. Whole earth feel the pain when the bombs release. Read your psalms, release David prophecies. Marcus Garvey said look to the east. Rastafari is the prince of peace. And Haile Selassie I come conquer the peace, yo. They trap the youths with them luxuries to get the ladies. Gotta drive Mercedes, people killing babies. Try to keep us down with AIDS. We descended from kings, now we surround with plague. Man, I kill them brother, man, to drive the Escalades. I can't stand Babylon and all the mess they made. Teach the youths that them best when them rests in the grave. Wolf trick the lion, got the lion a shade. Can't reach bones like...
What do you have to tell the people about Rastafari?
Light to the world. The king of kings and the conquering line of the tribe of Judah. I like himself. Where's my ruler? Hey yo! Yeah, hear them high, hear the black king on the 23rd of July. So tell them guy who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time them a try. Them Romans know them just up in them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them come without them genocide.
Are you talking about slavery?
Them couldn't kill the lion will come conquer Judah tribe. Go through tribulation, I strive, see sufferation, I still rise. That's why we tell them in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come if you tell them in a Toronto, straight at
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziro Menen. My name is Kwasi Bonsu, aka the Dejazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist,
And right now, I am the host of Lion Talk Live. Welcome to Lion Talk Live and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. Tonight, we continue our series on Rastafari and STEM. What is STEM? Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, all of the pillars that will build this golden age that we are talking about on the platform, this Zion on earth that we ascribe to as Rastafari globally. And the alternative to Babylon, we stop give all of our attention to Babylon right now. Right now, we want to know what is the alternative, where are we going? Because if we don't build the alternative, then we will perish when Babylon collapses, which we are watching the collapse right now. As I speak right now, we are awaiting Russia to respond to an extreme provocation. Nuclear bombers were hit with drones. This is, blockbuster movie things going on right now. So, nuclear war is closer than we've ever been. The world is in peril. The price of gold continues to skyrocket as the central banks of the world try to protect the value in their currency. We used to call it Armageddon, as Rastafari and the elders in those times were living in the time when we're seeing it. Middle East is ablaze. We're watching a genocide in the Middle East taking place in front of the eyes of the world. And as we say that, a new character has shown up in the movie of life, and in that character name is AI. And AI is shaking up the whole script. Everything is being shaken up. We're going to talk about that and the other technologies that are now becoming, mandatory to know about because you're touching your life. You saw the thumbnail for this. We had the cell phone. You know what I mean? We are FaceTiming. I keep saying on this platform as a youth, you know what I mean? When we saw FaceTime, that was Star Trek Next Generation. You see the iPad and you see them things that didn't exist in creation. You know what I mean? We're coming from the rotary phone days. If you know what I'm talking about, drop a comment. We're coming from the pager. When I went to college, I bought a pager. Them time there that was well advanced. You know what I mean? You get a 411 page, a 911 page. You get all type of page codes and thing. You know what I mean? That's a thing of the past. So tonight we're gonna talk about Rastafari technology. We have a special guest. The Brethren is well equipped for this reasoning, so we're gonna go in depth. Make sure you get your ital snacks. Make sure your meditation is steady, because this is a conversation that we're gonna have. We're gonna continue to have this conversation about Rastafari and STEM. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics. You're going to see that as a theme going forward. We started in African Liberation Month, but because this channel is about building the alternative to Babylon, for the Rastafari, the Pan-African family, we're going to continue to bring forward brethren and sistren who are in the STEM fields. I want our young Rastafari people to also see I don't have to run out on a stage or be a creative to be Rastafari. I can be an engineer. I can be an architect. I can be a welder. I can be, I can be a mechanic, a mechanical engineer. We want our young people in all facets and still hailing the king. You know what I mean? Big up all the Lion Pride early. I see the item are coming. Big up yourself. Always remember, let the family know where you're watching from. We have new people that join us every strong, so we want them to know that we are a global family. We're coming together slowly but surely. Big up the Lion Pride We are 40,000 plus. We're about to touch 41,000. People are continuing to spread the word, to share, and I'm very thankful. Big up the Lion Pride on Patreon. 35 fire angels from around the world who are subscribing. They're giving their hard-earned money every month to help us to pay for all of the infrastructure in this community that we're building. The next town hall meeting for the Patreon will be June 22nd. So we're preparing. We're going to have some presentations from some of our Lion Pride and Patreon members. We're creating a virtual village family. This is just the front of the village. The inner circle, we are creating a village. We're about to win. You know what I mean? We're trying to help each other to win. I am a creative industry attorney. I do consultations. I'm giving it for free in the Patreon. We have marketing people. We have all kind of people back there. I'm also going to be introducing a preferred vendor list and resources for our Patreon family. I just did an interview on I Never Knew TV. The first clip just dropped today, so check out the interview I did on I Never Knew TV. But we're offering the brethren who does I Never Knew TV Junior. He's going to be one of the first on our list. He's giving discounted rates. He does rebranding. He does content creation, consultation. Brethren is going to be offering a 20% discount on his services for the Lion Pride and Patreon members. So we're doing, and I'm going to get a whole bunch of different vendors, people. This brother you're going to meet today, he's going to be one of the vendors. He does publishing administration, finds money for people, breakdown. We're going to talk about how the music industry works, how people collect their money. We got this brethren is the right brethren. You know, I know how to find the right brethren for the family. I don't play with this thing, you know. Because Haile Selassie the first is the Almighty, and he inspired I and he gave I the network to be able to deliver this service. I'm called to do this work, and I'm honored again by all of the love. And we do need the strength. $5, $10 a month, whatever you can support. Come in. But again, we're not just going to take your money. We're going to add value. We're going to see how we can see you win. First town hall meeting we had was very powerful, very powerful. And eventually, the Patreon is going to be the ones who are voting to see who we're going to support, what events we're going to sponsor. All of that's going to be decided by the virtual village in the Lion Pride and Patreon as we grow the platform. So become a part. If you are Rastafari, if you're Pan-African and you're tired of seeing the same thing, you don't see no wins, you want to be part of a winning team, join the Lion Pride and Patreon. We're about to shake up this thing, you know what I mean? Through the powers of the Almighty, we're about to shake up the whole system. Rastafari independent non-aligned media is rising, is real. We're not going anywhere. Give thanks to everyone who comes early. If you're here under 50,000, you're still early, because we're going to millions and all of that. But the items are still early. So big up on yourself. Big up the Ubuntu Lion Pride, $70 and above US. You become part of the Ubuntu. That's a lifetime distinction, by the way. We're going up to 100 in July. So if you want to get the $70 rate, have your business, your family name in the history of the platform, we're offering that. If you're just Action Lion Pride, you just have a $5, you can do a super chat. You can do a Zelle, you can do Cash App. This is the modern era. We're going to talk about the technology right now. What I'm doing was never possible in the history of the earth, of humanity, until this moment right now. We're going to talk about it tonight. All of the things that I'm doing, setting up my ecosystem, is made possible by technology, where I have Lion Pride on Patreon from Reunion Island off the coast of Madagascar. You know what I mean? This is not possible even 20 years ago. So you can support, become part of the Action Lion Pride. You can also just be a watcher. Just watch. You know, the watch time helps. You can come and peep too. If you don't like I and I, you hate I and I guts, you just want to be what the Americans would call a hater, or what the Jamaica people would call bad man. You just don't like the Ras, him chat too much, him, you know what I mean? Just be a peeper. But it's dangerous for the people, them, I tell you, because if you peep too much, the positive vibration will pierce your heart and you will become a lover of the channel, and then you become an action lion. Probably next thing you know, you're in a Patreon. Describe your product and service and I make friends. So don't be a peeper. It's dangerous. I'm just warning you. You're welcome, but I'm warning it's dangerous to be a bad mind on the side. A positive vibration. Rastafari, now you're being at the heart. So I'm just warning the item. All right? All right. Big up Ras Lidge, Ramia King Design. When you see I'm sipping water today. That's Ramia King Design, Rastafari Business. You know, we're building the ecosystem. Big up Frontline Books, Raseko. We're getting ready to do our next edition of Rastafari, of the Reading Ras on the Frontline. 3 new books. Support Frontlines. Go to thefrontline.com. Big up Brother Carl Phil Potts. We are going to be sharing the link. It should be in the description shortly for his book. All of our sponsors, Wally Kings Graphics and Designs, and CMOS Life, big up on yourself. We are working on getting our Rastafari small businesses. Big up to the Life Yard family, Fleet Street. If you saw the advertisement, they're still trying to build strength. So pause it there. Support Life Yard down in downtown Jamaica. I want to make sure Lion Pride that we're active, you know what I mean, making a difference out there. There was a big fire and they're still helping those families, you know what I mean. This is the Armageddon, things are happening, and as our platform gets bigger, we're going to work together as a global family to try to make things a little better where we can, you know what I mean, where we can make a difference. So this is the power of what we're building collectively. And give thanks for your patience, everyone who's watching live and those who watch the intros, because I know some people just skip forward. But we have to have our housekeeping, because one of the mistakes we make is we don't take care of our house, and then your thing looks so nice and lion-wise nice, and the economics is not there, and the thing pop down, you don't see I, and you're wondering, you know what that brethren was doing was positive, you know, what happened to the brethren? The brethren had youths going to college and thing, and him never have the time. So we have to take care of that housekeeping. So I do take the time at the beginning of the episodes, because I'm a realist, and give thanks for those who support. Not for my brethren and sisters say them I go support, and I'm here waiting patiently for them. Now go pressure them. But if you have the means right now, let us direct that capital together, radical collective economic security, and push this thing forward so that we can raise the production standard. We can start to travel. We want to travel to the different Rastafari regions. We want to be able to sponsor different works, you know what I mean? We need a Rastafari school. We need a health center. So as you can see, we know all of the resource people. I know where the professionals are who can accomplish these works. And once we build a channel where it's stable and we have extra capital in the Lion Pride and Patreon, we are going to be helping to sponsor different projects to the advancement of the global Rastafari community. The item have my assurance. That is, you know, if the Almighty is willing, that's where we're taking this thing. So big up everybody who has been making this. You know, it's really a dream come true, and I have to say I'm humbled by the love and all of the ones them, you know, the outpouring. And I'm here patiently doing the work, trying to be diligent, uploading every day so that we can have something that we all as Rastafari can be proud of. All right, housekeeping out of the way. Let me introduce my guest for the evening. This brethren was introduced to I by one of I Pan-African elders out of the Hebrew Israelite. We live good with people, you know what I mean? So when you hear us talking about Rastafari, Pan-African family, that's how we live in real life. And the brethren, call I and say, I need to meet this brethren and link the brethren, find out, boom, immediate connection, you know what I mean? Far Eye family, you know what I mean? And then now we start reason. And I have been a client of the brethren. That's how serious this brethren is, you know what I mean? Because when I cite someone who have the knowledge and the aptitude, I'm going to book a consultation. I'm not afraid to spend. And this is the mentality that we have to have as the Lion Pride, you know what I mean? Support with brethren, we spend with them, you know what I mean? It's not just a lip service and we love them, but let's put some money in their pocket. I'm going to be going to the brethren studio. He's a studio engineer. I'm going to spend some money. I'm not going to ask the brethren for Vice Eye for free. No, he's an engineer. He's an artist. He is a technology consultant, music executive, producer. Please, Lion Pride family, help I with a warm welcome for Genesis, Osagboro, Isis.
Yes, I.
I
Rastafari
witness.
love.
I.
Yes, I. Rastafari love. Give thanks and praise.
Give thanks for the high patience. I can get long-winded, but me feel the vibes and me just do what me have to do, you know?
Oh, I love it. We love it.
Give thanks, give thanks. So we have a tradition here on the Lion Voice network and on Lion Talk Live. I'm going to ask you to step into our heretical time machine. Take us to your moment of your birth. Give us your origin story.
Yes, sir.
How is the manifestation of Genesis? You know what I mean? Give us that, paint the picture.
Yes, I give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Well, I'm from VA, the USA, you know what I'm saying? I was born in 1978, you know what I'm saying? So in the US, it's very early in Rastafari, you know? My father, Olamina of Awareness Art Ensemble, reggae band, came into Rastafari in the late 70s, early 80s. And they trailblazed the mid-Atlantic, spreading the word of Rastafari, reggae music, and Pan-Africanism. And my mother, being from Augusta, Georgia, home of the soul, James Brown, it's just the perfect mix of, the message and the soul, and was raised in Petersburg, VA, spent summers on the road with my father. My mother was a microbiologist, so deep into the sciences, and I grew up, started to play ball, became an athlete, but got a chance to go to Virginia Tech for engineering, not on an athletic scholarship, but just off of being able to get in. Graduated in engineering. I was an athlete in Virginia Tech, won the high jump athlete, track. Graduated with a degree in mining and mineral processing engineering.
Okay. So just to be clear, your lineage is Black American all the way, coming from the transatlantic slave trade.
For sure.
And why I say that is because I love it when we bring in Rastafari brethren who are Black American, because oftentimes the world doesn't get to hear the testimony that the item have, and there's a lot of ones who born and bred in America. Some of my good brethren, they are included, who, their lineage traces right forward, you know what I mean, to the first Africans that were brought over in exile. So what was it like as a young person in Virginia? Talk to us about, was it rural Virginia? Was it the city? Was it ghetto? What was your upbringing like? And were you trotting Rastafari from you were a little youth, or were you just, what was paint the picture?
Yeah, well, Rastafari from birth. I'm from Petersburg, VA, which is about 23 miles outside of Richmond, Central Virginia. It is definitely a hood, like 98% black. So that's all I know. 98% black coming up. I never saw nothing else other than that. You know, yeah, yeah.
So, how did they treat you in the hood as a young Rastafari growing up? Were you
So
to fit into what they were doing? How was that? What was that dynamic like?
so here's the thing about early Rastafari in the U.S. Um, just like in all across the diaspora, you're immediately going against the traditions of your family. So it's like, where is this coming from? The Pan-Africanist movement went pretty hard here in the U.S. and my father leaned toward the truth of Rastafari. So he stopped combing his hair. He got out of his career job and became a career artist. So I went to school, elementary school, with you know knotted hair and daishikis. So my grandfather, they didn't quite understand the levity, and they would comb my hair, comb the locks out. It's pretty rough. And then when you get to school as a youth with culture, wearing dashikis and things like, you're called things like African booty scratchers. So for the longest time, what I'm
Okay.
saying, I was considered an African booty scratcher. Now, I had always been taught that being African is the ultimate, is the most beautiful thing. So I didn't see it as a insult. I was like, yeah, I'm African. I'm African. I didn't accept the booty scratcher, but I'm definitely African. I didn't shy away from that at all. My name is Genesis Osagboro. Osagboro coming from Benin, meaning there's only one God.
Okay.
So just with that focus alone, and that liberty alone, just coming up in the element around things, but the morality given to me as a Rasta youth, wouldn't allow me to participate in certain things. So I walked a certain path, kind of this whole way, with purpose, with liberty, the whole way.
So we're about the same age. So you saw when crack hit the hood.
Whoa, yeah, man. Yeah, I went that whole thing. I was talking to my father about a story the other day of finding crack on the schoolyard and being threatened not to say anything or, harm to the family. That type of vibe. How I just bust up the community. Petersburg, VA was once a bustling city. It's right off of 95, and 460. All the major highways go through it. So it was a whole lot of industry going on there. It is actually the oldest black. It contains the oldest black community in the United States at Pocahontas Island. Like literally, the oldest black community in the United States is there. So it's a whole lot of ancestral energy that's there. And just when crack came through and the businesses started going, it went from this bustling hub in this city, in this industrial city, just to no jobs, a wasteland, high crime, and driving the people out and property values going down and just lawlessness,
Wow.
And now of course a casino is coming to to revitalize things. So
Okay. Serious thing. Serious thing. So as a child, just because your father is Rastafari doesn't guarantee that the son is gonna accept Rastafari. What age were you when you decided for yourself that you were gonna trod in the light of Rastafari?
well, the accepting the responsibility that comes along with that really came along in high school and into college, especially in the college years, because the experience at Virginia Tech, being part of a 2% black population as opposed to where I come from, which is 98% black, just having that culture, holding on to that culture was the only thing that got me through. Just the belief in self, and the belief that my ancestors created all these sciences and things like that. Just being able to read and study for self and reason, what I'm saying, on my own, outside of elders and with other Rasta brethren, definitely coming into the fullness of.
Okay. And how does DI see the emperor in terms of divinity, and Empress Menen as well?
Well, I see a wonderful example. You know, as far as God on earth, you'd have to convince me that I'm not as well, type of thing. You know, so I see the divinity in all, and I can't start separating the all. But when I see the example of His Imperial Majesty, you know, I see something to aspire to. Yes, sir.
Give thanks, give thanks. And when did the aptitude or the desire for technology come into the iris? Was it from youthful stages or was it in university? What drove the eye into the technology field?
Well, definitely as a youth, and you know, I'm gonna credit my mother because she was in the sciences and just working with me at home. Because the thing about the Petersburg school system, I love my city, but you know, we fall short of our children in developing them and preparing them for the world. You know, but my mother putting that extra time in, teaching me at home. You know, I always used to tell my grandfather I wanted to be an engineer. Now, at those times, I thought engineering and inventing, being an inventor, was the same thing. You know, it wasn't until I actually got into engineering school that's like, oh wait, we ain't inventing nothing. This is problem solving. You know, but just trying to have a scientific, you know, being a scientist, always fascinated by them growing up, uh, watching, you know, scientific programs, and I was never really too good in school because it's just the culture clash. You know, I wasn't a bad child at all, you know, but I just didn't dig it, you know. But a math teacher in school who is a brother, and the importance of having black male teachers for black boys, super important. I remember every last one of them. But this particular brother knew that I had more aptitude. So I think this is around high school, and I'm an athlete too, playing basketball. He invited me to a math camp for like all the smart children. You know, I didn't know why I was there or why I go there, but I go there and they have all these little tests and everything, like, you know, puzzles, and it's children from all different school systems. So I'm seeing white children and all types of things, and we don't see those in Petersburg. So it's a little bit of not intimidation because of, well, I don't know, you know, I don't want to say inferiority, but you know, it's just like you hear they're so smart, and you know that you believe in yourself. But so, you know, I did well on the test. I was solving things that, you know, those children weren't able to solve. And, you know, it gave me a spark. It's like, oh, wait, you know, they're not that bright, you know, they're not that smart. I'm just as smart, you know, as them. And just that experience alone, you know, graduating from high school and then having a full academic and sports scholarship to Virginia State University at HBCU. I was ready to go to school, play ball, and deal with the woo woos and everything like that. Um, but in speaking to my mother, and then go, you know, they didn't have engineering at the school, you know, so we talked about it, and I ended up going to tech, which was a super culture shock. But at the same time, it prepared me for how they operate, which I never would have been able to, you know, see behind the scenes, you know.
Okay, okay. How were you treated as a Rastafari at a PWI, which is predominantly white institution?
That's interesting. By the actual institution itself, not very well.
Okay, okay.
You know, certain things happened in the school year. A computer early engineering class where we had an assignment to do some computer coding in a language called Fortran, old archaic, you know, computing language. Mind you, I never touched a computer before coming into the school because in Petersburg, we didn't, you know, we had CIS, but all we did was type. We didn't learn about actual computers, you know. And then coming to engineering school at Tech, you had to be computer literate because all the classes had computers. But anyway, you know, in this EF class, I figure out a way of doing the program, and the guy I study with, we studied together, so we take a similar approach. But it's so different from everybody else that we're obviously cheating. And then going through that and being found guilty for something I actually didn't do. And then them trying to say if I don't do a community service, I can't come back the next semester. And then they give me community service during our playoff times as an athlete, just trying to, pile on, those type of things, being harassed at football games for drinking alcohol. And I don't drink, no strong drink, you know what I'm saying? But they want to check me for alcohol, but I'm seeing people go through not being checked. Like, why do you want to check me? Those type of things, Yeah, like the institution itself wasn't that cool, but as far as the white folk there, you're fascinating. You know what I'm saying? So a bit of a spectacle to them, you know what I'm saying? But they don't understand or understand the seriousness of this position. They listen to, Bob Marley and smoke weed, and that's the extent of what they know. But they don't understand the Black liberation side of things, and just that was interesting to navigate, because I was also a performing artist while in school. So I'm singing fire, and I'm singing songs burning fire and things like that. And the things I'm talking about, I'm like, no, I'm talking to you, but they're singing along and things like that. So I had to learn to, like, okay.
So you bust the place on campus is what you're saying, kind of humbly, because you said they're singing along. So you bust the place.
Oh, most definitely. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you had some popularity too on campus. People knew you as an artist.
Yes. Sold out shows, began to tour from college to college,
Okay. Serious thing. When did the name Ja Eyewitness come about?
It's an evolution. At first I went from Obi-Wan Kenobi with the Force, and then it evolved to Genesis, the Eyewitness. Because the way I see things and I see life, I see the workings of the Most High in everything, and then it evolved to Jah Eyewitness, because I wanted them to understand that I see the workings of Jah in the all, So that's how that came about.
Okay. And about what age did that solidify? Was that in college or after college?
That was definitely in college. That was in college. That was, maybe about 18, 19 or so.
Okay. So we're talking about around 97?
Yeah, 96. Yep. In 96, I left the street to go to college. Ever since they tried to send me back like Elian Gonzalez.
Okay.
With the lines I used to bust,
Okay. As I said, we're close to the same age. I started at Howard in 96. So I know, it would be around that time. But yeah, man. So in terms of the engineering, you were saying that computers, you're just coming in contact with computers, you're experiencing racism. How did you learn? What type of discipline? What did it take from you to become proficient? Did you have to do extra work to catch up to your peers, or how did you navigate dealing with technology?
So again, coming out of the Petersburg school system, bless them, and the highest math I took was like trigonometry. And to us, I was like, oh man, you took trig, you took algebra 1, genius level from where I come from. But when you get to school, they're already doing calculus. So I'm already 3 years behind the rest of the students. And it's not like there's like, okay, we're going to slow everything to help you out. So they're not studying with you and things. So they're there on scholarships and things. I'm there off because I turned down a scholarship to go to Virginia State, and I decided to go out of pocket at Virginia Tech just because I wanted to be an engineer.
Okay.
And we don't have the money like that, not like that.
Yeah.
So I'm here on different time than y'all. I come from somewhere else. I this has to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Serious.
So with that in mind and knowing the sacrifices that my parents are making, I learned to teach myself that I can read. If I can read and I can understand, I'm good. I
Okay.
can teach myself. So being forced to teach myself for the first 3 years, it took 3 years to get into it, um, just from scratch, Fortunately, with the computer thing, we started to produce music on our school issued computers. So we had things like Cool Edit, the first version of Fruity Loops is what it was called at the time, a cracked
Okay.
version of that. And we began to record in our dorm room, which made us savvy with at least getting around the computer, installing programs, uninstalling programs, fixing
Yeah.
bugs, troubleshooting, then creating flyers and things of that nature. So I owe my computer literacy honestly to music more than I
Okay.
do
So
school. I
the
didn't go to
passion,
school.
yeah, the passion that you had for music pushed you into the technology.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Thanks. Give thanks. And so 3 years, and I want to go through the chronology before we get into the topic so that young people can see this thing is not overnight. When we talk about these journeys, one thing I like about the biographies is that people see the struggle, and sometimes it's not a linear journey to get to where you are. It's all, you go all around, but you still make it, and you can do it as Rastafari. You know what I mean? There's no limitation. So, um, describe that moment where everything started clicking for you. Was that your senior year of college?
Almost, so I'm like my junior year of college.
Okay.
And I got a child coming.
Okay. You started
You know?
early.
Yeah. 22, child
Okay.
coming. And I get my first internship. Because my grades are like, getting better, but I had such a horrible start that I had a lot of catching up to do. So it's either, it's a horrible start and go out blazing just to graduate, or we just wasted a whole lot of money,
Yeah, yeah.
But I got an internship with one of my classmates. So I moved from chemical engineering where I started, and I transferred departments to mining and mineral processing engineering because I have a natural affinity for separation processes, getting the valuable out of the, you know, waste materials, like
Okay.
extracting the resources. So we get on this internship, and I notice he's not very bright,
Okay.
but he's one of the best students in the class. Then I learned there's a thing called KUFers when you're in the college, and KUFers are the test from previous years and the answers that they pass along for study guides.
Oh,
Since there was a cultural disconnect and I didn't drink or date their women or anything like that, you know,
you didn't get clued into the study methods.
at all. I didn't even know they existed, bro. So every grade that I got, I earned. Every C was a earned C, but I had to learn, and I wasn't good at taking tests because of anxiety at the time. I didn't understand the game of school. It wasn't
That
until much
that's where
later that I figured it out.
I'm explaining to my daughter with the SAT, that these standardized tests you got to study by taking the tests. It's not
Yeah.
about learning the material. You got to study the tests, and basically that you're saying, because the professors are going to use similar questions every year.
Yep.
So once you have the old tests, you can better prepare yourself for what's going to be on the test instead of wasting time.
You can see the style of questions, and
Yes.
sometimes they'll. And what I didn't know is they were the exact questions and the exact answers. So
Yes,
they're just
yes.
going and memorizing stuff, and busting up the curve, and I'm just coming on with what I earned, which wasn't near what they were getting because the curve was just skewed so high, you know.
The
But
story of colonial conquest.
exactly right. So, but it taught me to learn independently, because my mother always taught me you don't really learn in school. You can learn anywhere. You know, you learn how to learn, right? So I learned how to learn. I would read, study, and I had a full life outside of academics too, like a full life. Traveling athlete, worked a job because I didn't have any money while there, and did gigs so all of this was at the same time. But that experience, being able to do what I thought was common sense things during that internship, and my man just couldn't keep up, and this was like the top dude in the class. I was like, oh, okay. It was like another moment, like back when I was in high school. It's like, oh, y'all ain't really bright like that, you know? Not because I was always taught, my ancestors created math, created these sciences and stuff like that. So that's in me. So I never got into math is hard. I created it.
I love
I'm
it.
remembering. So that really got me. The responsibility of a child, the confidence of me excelling. I did so well in that internship. They sent me to another company in Florida to go work on the actual machines that were
Okay.
doing separation processes. So just off of, aptitude, getting that kind of opportunity. So then it was just making sure I graduated, and I was able to graduate. I just barely graduated, but I got through, and on the strength of that, I went into the whole construction world.
Okay. Okay. And then, um, how is technology impacting your first job? Were you using technology on the job, or what
Yeah.
was the description in the construction area?
So in terms of, I was doing field engineering.
Okay.
So it was a lot of computation, data entry, capturing, doing reports and report ticketing systems and, databases, and just understanding how to input data and to use
Okay.
it within the job. But I still wasn't a computer guy by
Okay.
any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So talk to me about this whole concept of STEM.
Mm.
Um, I mean, we have established. I wanna get to how you got into the music business and the publishing piece. But before we get there, talk to me about STEM, this concept. What is STEM? And when you were coming through college and into these professions, were you thinking from that lens of STEM, consciously or unconsciously? What is STEM?
To me, STEM is a recent word, but
Okay.
science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You know, um, yeah. When we were in school, we were just scientists, like in general sciences. The sciences. You know what I mean? But the whole focus on STEM and breaking it down into those different components is actually pretty important to understand that there are many different types of sciences and many different applications and places where you can get into it.
Serious, serious. So how did you get into the music, the back end of the music, publishing and copyright and royalty collection?
Cool. So I got to kind of finish that employment story because it all
Yes,
connects,
yes. Yeah,
right?
take us through the journey.
So I go into the construction engineering world, right? Civil engineering. So using my engineering skills in the physical world, you know. Um, at the time, Bush, housing crisis. They stopped building things. I'm out of a job,
Hmm.
you know. So now I'm like, I got, at the time, now I have 4 children because now I'm in this area. I have
Okay.
4 children now. And my college roommate, a brother from India, who I brought into hip hop. I taught him how to make beats on our engineering computers. He started a technology company in a field called eDiscovery. I never heard of eDiscovery before. So he's like, look, man, come, apply. And we got to understand, this is how their system works. This is how they move and they operate and they network, So, come apply. I took the test in eDiscovery. I found out it was about computers. Everything I knew about producing music was the bulk of what I knew about computers. So I sat there and I took this test for this job. And I sat there 3 hours trying to compare what they're asking me to what I would do to save the files from my songs and rename them and change the file extension. So I'm equating in real time. I didn't understand it was a time test.
Okay.
They were fascinated, and I sat there for 3 hours trying to figure it out. They gave me the job. They knew I didn't, know. So for the first 2 years, I'm Google and YouTube and reverse engineering the processes that they're using at the job to understand what's going on. Still not knowing what's going on, but good enough to do the job, not knowing why.
Yes, yes.
I get proficient, take over the night shift. And this is eDiscovery, which is in law, there's a discovery phase, right? And in the discovery phase, you're taking in evidence. And back in the day, it used to be a lot of paperwork, so a lot of lawyers would have to review manually,
I work in this area as well, so it's very, especially in the DC area, when you're dealing with massive litigation,
right?
Millions of documents sometimes in the document universe. They call in attorneys and things, but they need technical people to arrange the data to be reviewed. So this is what the brethren is doing in terms of the back end with the data sets. But it continue to explain.
So when something happens, I find the evidence out of those millions of documents. We got to figure out, what's going on. And I learned a concept of something called metadata.
Yes.
And metadata is information about information. It's data about data. So on a file, it's when the file was created, who's the author of the file, what's the native application the file is used on? Is it a Word document? Is it Excel? Is it a PDF or Acrobat or something to that nature, right? And based on the metadata, I could tell if a document's been tampered with, who it belongs to, how many copies of it, so I can get to the original copy, So, it was totally boring. I did not enjoy it. I'm gonna skip a whole lot. And a couple, years ago, I met a sister, Harlem's first lady, Juanita Purcell from Harlem, New York. And she was in clubhouse groups teaching publishing administration, right? Now I'm an artist, so I already know, I have copyrights, I have my PRO,
And for those who are not familiar, PRO means Performance Rights Organization.
Yes. They're the ones who pay you for the performance of your works. If you own works and have a PA copyright for them with the proper copyright to own the work, you can monetize it. And they're one of the entities to help monetize, the PRO, right? So I was kind of hip to that, but she was speaking of the metadata. And I was like, hey, I'm like one of the country's top experts in that right there. What do you mean this is all based on metadata, right? So I learned about the identifiers. Like anytime you're in one of these organizations, they'll give you an identifier, and that identifier is attached to your file. Because to us, this music is what we love, but to this system, you're just a file on a database. And they find you on that database using metadata, something I'm knee-deep in every day. And manipulating metadata, I'm in it. That helped me to grasp publishing administration, the intellectual property rights, ownership, that really just kind of tied everything in, and I began to practice and do it for myself and help people resolve royalty issues, because I was able to track down where the money is based on how things were registered or not registered, and getting into that type of forensic work based on the metadata trail that's going on. Same thing I'm doing for something totally different, So I'm like, well, okay, I understand that we have intellectual property and it needs to be protected, right? But then it's a file in a database. How do I become discoverable in that database? I become discoverable through the metadata. So now I'm protected. I can become discoverable. Now I'm monetizable.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So, the sister, kind of broke those sciences down, and then I applied what I knew from the technical side of things to supplement the information she was giving me. And together, we pretty much kind of cracked the code and was able to get into conversations with the people who actually do these things that normal people don't necessarily get a chance to join in on those conversations. Like, how are these platforms paying out to the PROs? So how does the play get from Spotify to the PRO? How does that information transfer so you can get paid to do so? When you understand the ownership and you understand the metadata and the identifiers and things of that nature, you're able to track these things and they can get back to you. So I went from really hating what I did to realizing like it set me up to be the ultimate in the publishing administration world, which is still lagging when it comes to the technical side of it.
Yes. Lion Pride Model Car checking in from Cali said, "You speak in science."
Yes, sir.
Yes. If you are not familiar, top of the line people that we bring on the Lion Voice Network. The network is serious, and I want to show the global family that when you talk about Rastafari, we're not talking second class, talking top of the line information. So let your artist friends, anybody who's making music needs to watch this episode because we're gonna be talking about this thing. So what other things do you do as it relates to technology and the music industry?
Well, even before I got into the publishing administration side of things, I was in the social media end of things. So understanding the algorithm and which behaviors are necessary to, give you favorable position in the algorithm. So with that, being able to marry the science of content distribution and creation in the algorithm and how that works, along with metadata, because metadata can actually help you in the algorithm.
Yes. And that was what we consulted with the brethren about, with the YouTube channel, because, the tagging and the making sure that you have all of the things, again, the brethren said, to make your thing discoverable. This is where a lot of our creatives and small businesses pop down. And I'm going to have the do a presentation for ARC as well, the Association of Rastafari Creatives, because this is where a lot of us pop down, is the metadata, not having our things being able to be picked up by the algorithm, because technology runs all facets of commerce right now. If you're not technologically savvy, there's very little physical product that's moving internationally. Yes, if you're doing shows, but most artists not doing that many shows.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Let's be real. You know what I mean? Most artists are not performing every weekend, and most artists have children, maybe multiple baby mothers. You know what I mean? If you made some choices in life. So you need the money. So you have to have the technology savvy if you're going to maximize. And I'm going to do a whole thing. I was talking to a brethren and we're talking about the artist's life. And the Brethren very knowledgeable in the music, and he was saying enough of the artists are living off of women because
Yes.
the business are not set, you know what I mean? And they just go from woman to woman, and this is how the whole heap of children are being created because there's no steady economic base. It looks one way to the public, but because the back office is not, you hear me talking about the housekeeping because people are not doing the housekeeping, the thing pop down. So this is a brethren that comes and he does housekeeping and,
I
and,
mean,
and help you to set up your house properly. So
if,
uh,
if I have to
go ahead.
inject one thing, brethren,
Yeah,
we the singers and players of instruments who make joyful noises unto the Most High are the last people who should have our creations exploited. You know, so part of making that joyful noise, part of your responsibility is to protect that from being exploited by those who are wicked. Just straight to it, those who are
yes,
wicked. You know, so if you're creating works, your children should be able to eat off of your works that you did on earth. They should be able to inherit those things, you know? So we really owe it to, ourselves, the Most High, and the youth to handle our business properly so we can have something to pass down. So no one's other children is going to school based off of your works, and your children can't go to school. That's not cool.
no, it's not. It's not. So in terms of talk about how important technology has become for the creative industry, just generally, and how it touches all the different facets for those who may not be aware.
Well, I mean, from the time we sang joyful noises for goat skins and for spiritual purposes until they're becoming commercialized in this capitalism system. Uh, all of these record labels started as technology companies first. So Sony, they had their Walkmans and things like that. So, they would create the technology and the medium to play on it. And we as the artists, we're just moving from medium to format, never really being in a position to benefit from our creative works because either we don't possess the means and technology to be able to facilitate the creation and production of the work product, or we don't have the capacity or knowledge to be able to administer and keep track of the movements of the money and everything with our work products. So that's done on purpose. They don't want you to be able to understand how to do so because that cuts into their bottom line. The algorithm is they say it's built to give the people on the platforms the best experiences that'll keep them there. Why? Because while you're on these platforms, ads are coming through. Those ads generate money. Your intellectual property got them there. You're owed something for that. You know. So just the advancement of technology now that we used to, for instance, my father and the Awareness Island Ensemble, they came out with Coming Home, which was their 12-inch, their full-length album, super serious work within Virginia and reggae in the US. But due to studio time and things of that nature and the cost of it to do so, you know, it was more than, it's much easier to do things like that now. I remember maybe last year or so, I found out he had a music video, you know, way from back then, done by an art student. But the logistics in getting that done is way different from me and him going out there with my cell phone and me coming back at home and editing it and it coming out as a professional video. So the logistical hurdle as creatives has gotten much lower, which is a good thing in that it allows that was a gate. They were gatekeeping based on the prohibitive cost of being a creative. But now we can express ourselves and it's much less to do so, which means sometimes people who really shouldn't be are doing it, and you have to be able to weed through it. But for those who are serious, that you can be much more productive. You can also, we used to have these played on, we have to work radio, we have to work TV or the newspaper in order to get any kind of attention. Now we have direct access to the people. So it's a totally different time. There are positives and there are negative sides to this, in that since we're able to microwave music so fast and the culture is content, more content, we have, in the sake of speed and providing content, we're neglecting the actual business of it, because if we don't provide content, then we won't be seen. So we're not copywriting, we're not doing the proper things to monetize and protect our works, and then we're also not realizing that we're the direct competitors of major. It's only like 3 record companies running everything. It's really 4. One is a kind of secret, shadowy, but Sony, Universal, and Warner. And the 4th would be Merlin, but that's a whole different conversation right there. So you're 90, like Spotify, for instance, 90 cents of every dollar almost goes to those big 3 companies. So the algorithm is tailored to send attention to those 3 companies, because Spotify has ran in the red for its whole existence. They were finally profitable 1 year ago, and to do so, they had to cut our royalties to do so. So the technology and its effect on creatives, its effect on intellectual property, and I know we're going to talk about AI. The landscape of music is changing very rapidly. Even Babylon got to make moves. So you got Congress creating quasi-government entities just to deal and keep up with the onslaught of digital music and the handling of digital music rights. So, that's what they're coming up with, like Sound Exchange or the MLC, things of that nature. Those were created by Congress in order to handle royalties associated with digital music. So us as creatives, we have to understand ownership. We have to understand ownership. We have to understand what happens when we give up that ownership to a record label, to a publishing company. We have to understand being direct to consumer. We have to understand the landscape of the fight, to make rooms and ownership. Publishers get paid and artists don't really get paid, because publishers have a right to monetize. So it's information that's being kept from us, the creatives, because the whole thing is exploitation.
Yeah.
Exploitation. It's layers of exploitation. Labels, publishing companies, streaming platforms, social media platforms,
And this is why I said off air to the brethren, and I've said this on this platform, my concept for Rastafari is that we build our own infrastructure. We'd have to start small. We'd have to start small. We don't have the capacity. And I have this reason with my sister Fanai. I'm talking about down to the servers, down to the whole infrastructure. We need to have our warehouses with, what I mean? Security, cyber security, the whole infrastructure we need to just separate from, because as the brethren said, there's a monopoly between these companies and we can't compete. I mean, it's been a while since I've been active, but someone was telling me, that it's minimum 250,000 to break a song in America in terms of trying to get it plugged into radio and all of these things.
That's the
Most
number.
independent artists can't afford these kind of prices. These are, the record labels have a person that just deals with the radio, the plug for the radio. You know what I mean? All of these things that when I sorry, I tell, when I drive with my children, sometimes they want to listen to the mainstream radio. And, every hour on the hour, there's the same song. And, I always tell them this is the stimulus package,
Yep.
Atlantic or whatever the record label, they have purchased the stimulus package. I always tell them that you hear this song rinsing. So even if you didn't like the song, by week 2, you singing every word for word of that song because of the thing. And then, as the brethren say, the algorithm now, they're also buying ads. They're doing things to build that awareness. So you as an independent artist, if you don't understand what the technology is and what it's about, and this is most of our artists that we're talking to right now, don't understand. This is what I do, with a lot of artists. I try to tell them, because a lot of them are not even playing the right game. It's a chess game and they're playing checkers. Or they get stuck in the production aspect. They just keep voicing song, and there's nothing there. Let me go to the comments here quickly. Rasta Roots Life said, really fire music, brethren, where I find all the iMusic. Right now we're on Patreon. My music as an artist, I upload they're not released publicly. I have them on Patreon for my my Lion Pride on Patreon. You can listen to full songs in there. I will release music, but until then, I have all this music on hard drives. I provide that, for the people who love to hear it. They can listen to it on Patreon. So if you join as little as $5 a month, you go listen to the Lion Log. We have Wooly song in the Patreon. But this is serious. And again, this is the first time in history that artists could do something like this. You know what I mean? Where we can create things and do things on our own terms. You know what I mean? And it's so important because I plan to be a big artist on the continent of Africa in time. But, the Most High called me to build this network. So I took a pause from the artistry. But you hear the music. I always forget that. Rasta Roots Life, big up yourself. So it's in the Patreon. Freeway Dread, Lion Pride on Patreon. Remember, Freeway Dread, tell them the music is in there. Freeway Dread, drop some lightning on them. That's part of our Lion Pride on Patreon family checking in. Rasta Roots Life, blessed love and gratitude. Freeway Dread said I missed the rotary phone. But if you missed that last number though, Freeway Dread, it was dreadful. You had to start from scratch. Karasta Music Records, 1980s and 1990s, phone was just a phone. Yeah, people don't know that. I tell my children all the time when they're on their smartphone back in the day, you had the one line in the house and people pick up the phone and you have to try pick it up before it ring. You keep your finger on the little thing there and you try to lift it up quick before. They don't know about that thing there. You're not supposed to be on the phone late. You have to have some style and pattern, and someone could just pick up the phone downstairs and it's one line in the house.
You have to memorize the numbers.
You have to memorize the number. I tuned in from Kentucky. Big up Kentucky family. Lion Pride, we're worldwide. All praises to the Most High. San Francisco, California, checking in. Big up Cali family. Freeway Dread, June 22nd. Yes, Freeway Dread. We're having our town hall. Prince William. So Freeway Dread and Prince William, we just found out both of them are truckers. We're going to be talking about the Rastafari Truckers Association family at this next town hall meeting. We gotta organize the truckers, because that, to me, I just keep seeing the line of Judah Trucking Company up and down the Trans-Africa Highway in North America, globally. You know what I mean? Just having our own trucking system is going to be more important than ever. You know what I mean? Like, as I said, I'm for us controlling from seed to table every aspect of our culture and liberty. Anything else, we partner with people is a blessing. We're not isolationists, but let us have our own. You know what I mean? That's where I am with it. So big up all the Rastafari truckers, Rastafari Roots Life. Big up yourself. We have Black Palace Music, Peace, Bless, and I'm going to open it up so that people can have questions. I'm learning so much about Genesis from this interview. Gotta love it. Hanifa,
That's my wife.
That's your
Yeah,
wife?
that's my wife. Yeah,
okay,
man.
okay, the queen.
Yeah.
This is a family platform, so big up yourself, queen. Because sometimes you need other people to ask questions, you know what I mean, and you get to know different aspects. Yes, we read this comment, and he's a family man. I love that. Yes, blessing to the queen. Top level reasoning, brethren. You know that's all we do here. High level, high frequency, Rastafari, Pan African reasoning. LOL, absolutely same thing with the news. All right, music has now gone digital assets, IP format. Yes, straight, and we're opening the comments. So if you want to ask any questions, you see us, we're interactive over here at the Lion Voice Network. So feel free to ask any questions as we're reasoning. Now we're gonna go into our topic, because here we're all about building the new alternative. You know, we're pushing this concept of Rastafari Pan African Golden Age here. But what I want to reason with my guests about is, what does this golden age look like? You know what I mean? What are the components? We know that we can't get rid of technology. His Imperial Majesty was a big advocate for technology, importing the printing press into Ethiopia when that was a new technology on the earth, you know, importing the first airplane into Ethiopia when that was a new technology. Cutting edge, you know, everything His Majesty was bringing forward at the time. These were cutting edge technology. We now have AI, and all of this new stuff. You know, talk to I about the technology, the role of technology in the modern era, and why it's important for Rastafari to embrace technology.
So it's several reasons why. You know, technology's two things. It could be a tool, and it could be a weapon. You know, so when we use it as a tool, like AI, for instance, you know, it can be used as a tool in managing crops, ecosystems, helping farmers to manage data and weather patterns, you know, helping to automate city systems and things of that nature. It's also a weapon. It can be used to spread disinformation that we'll have to understand how to, you know, identify and combat, you know. So with the current state of technology, they're trying to get us to really own nothing, you know. Like I was looking at the comment about the digital assets in music. We don't even own music per se anymore. We stream it from databases, and we always have to tap back in order to use that resource. I mean, the currency, the money becoming digitized with cryptocurrency. You know, we trading convenience for freedom and liberties and rights. We have to be careful on that, but at the same time, we just can't let these technologies just do what they want to, and we just be stuck in the consumer role and unable to keep up, unable to provide goods and services at a competitive level for us to be able to profit, to facilitate uh, international communications. We're going to have to understand technology to preserve information and be able to process information, like uh, all of the books of our elders and our scholars. Is any representation of those books in their AI? Most likely not. So we need to develop our own to be able to service ourselves, AI in our service. I believe a lot of us feel that adapting these technologies makes us less human, and I agree to a certain extent, in that if we're not involved with these technologies, then they are less human, because we have to be able to make them human. You know, so a lot of these concepts, even that they're calling modern technology, are ancient concepts developed by our ancestors. The whole binary system and binary math. That's the same math that's used in the marketplace in Ethiopia and in West Africa. That's the same ones and zeros. Going from 8 to 16 to 32 to 64 to 128 to 256 to 1054. People who are in technology understand that those numbers that I was saying, those combinations of 8, those are the different sizes and bytes of sizes of information and data. So we have a duty to be able to keep up, for the most point, and become independent, have our own independent systems, or else we're going to be like doomed to keep leeching off of them. So, and we also have to defend ourselves. So it's a whole bunch of uses for why we need to understand these technologies, these various technologies.
Serious, and as he said, we don't want to just be the consumers. We want to have our young people learn how to code, how to do what they have to do. You know what I mean? So it's very important in terms of not just being end users, creating our own AI. Talk about deep fake. You remember deep fake? I'm not no deep C. What was the Chinese
Deep
AI
sea.
that came out and blew the minds of Nvidia, who was a leading AI company in America, and China came out with an AI that rivals Chat GPT for cheaper and thing, and it said talk about the whole AI vibration.
Yeah. So with AI, artificial intelligence, it's not really a true AI yet, in that there's still what's called a human in the loop for a lot of these things, and it's still like machine learning. Machine learning is probably the better term for it, in that it relies on a seed set of data and taught logical patterns in order to make their decisions and relational you know actions. um in terms of the cost of AI, yeah, that was a punch in the gut when DeepSeek came. I think it was free. I think it was free. It handled code better. It performed better, just as good. And you said something a second ago that I didn't want to just let pass. Teaching our children to code.
Yes.
That has been the mantra for quite some time. That we got to teach our children to code. We got to teach our children to code. And I agree, right? But at the same time, that's a trick too. Because if we solely look at teaching our children how to code, the trick is AI does the coding now.
Okay, talk about it.
So you would be teaching them a skill that they would not be able to use, you know? But here's the thing, they still should learn how to code, because what coding really is taking logical steps and organize them in a way to accomplish a task. So you have to think through logically the different tasks in order to, like, if I was making a salad, right? Step one, grab bowl. Make sure bowl is upside down or the right side up so it can receive the salad. Step two, grab greens. Place greens inside of bowl up to this point. Step three, add onion, add different vegetables. You know, like thinking of these things to accomplish a goal. So being able to think of the task and do it over and over again. So learning how to code from a standpoint of learning how to automate tasks and build systems to accomplish things and make things simple. So, you know, we think of AI, and one of the things that we fear is AI has come to take jobs, and it will, you know, and we necessarily shouldn't be dependent on their jobs anyway, but it will. But think of it also in this way, like for myself as a one man entrepreneur, you know, or one person business or a small business who can't hire a staff of copywriters to write copies for their ads or to help them with social media strategies and whatnot. They can employ AI to do that, and now they can compete. They can stay in business. So for some, it's going to be necessary to stay in business. You know.
And I don't think people understand how serious AI is right now. In terms of, a lot of people use it like Google as just a basic search engine, but you can do so much with AI. My wife has been sending I information. She's very passionate about it right now. So I've been inundated with AI, and AI is about the prompt, setting up the systems. You can literally, create an employee to manage your workflow and do all of them, manage your email, your inbox, write draft letters for you, respond to. I mean, you can do so much with AI right now if you know how to automate systems. So these are things that we have to be reasoned, because so many of us are small businesses. What mash us up is that we wear so many hats. We are now at a time with the right knowledge, you can create that team, and a lot of that team can be a digital team that's working. You just got to have the knowledge to spend time and automate certain processes, so that you're just becoming a decision maker. You know what I mean, in terms of that. I really believe, and this is one of the aspects of the manifestation of this golden age or Zion on earth, that the era of the job is coming to an end. People will monetize their purpose. You know what I mean? Your purpose is what will determine the value in the marketplace. And this is why it becomes Zion, because everyone is doing what they love to do, what they were put on earth to do. So the quality naturally rises for everything, and it's not a static place. It's not a static. It's something that always is getting better as time progresses. You know what I mean? So this is a feature. So I look at this technology as a feature of the golden age, because it gives us our time forward. But I want you to talk, because you grew up Rastafari, so you know the importance of the anciency. Yes. How do we balance the ancient levity of Rastafari with all of this technology? Because there is a danger, if you're not going out in nature, you're not walking barefoot, you're not doing certain things to ground yourself. You know what I mean? There's a danger. So talk about how do we strike that balance?
Well, like I go back to that whole us being involved in it to keep it human, to keep that human aspect there. We have to be there. So coming from the liberty of Rastafari, if I was designing a building, for instance, and I was using I would use it to research, what are the most environmental friendly methods to employ. You know, I would research the best materials. The best uh, least disturbance. How could I live with nature? How could I work with nature? Um, we could use AI and technology in virtual universities. Like I say, we can have our own libraries and access to information that we can. Everyone has access to the works of Sheikh Anta Diop, and be able to reason through situations with one, someone like a Sheikh Anta Diop or Marcus Garvey even. But at the same time, while and my wife made a good point, while these new technologies, we innately have these powers to do so ourselves. So it has to be used to enhance our humanity, not necessarily work against us. That's our responsibility to use it to enhance and benefit humanity, as opposed to exploit and destroy.
Serious thing. Because what I realize is that there's no escaping this technology. There's no going around it. Either you're going to be a victim of it, or we're going to embrace and control it. And I think this is one of the reasons, when we look at why His Majesty had to embrace the technology, embrace the Western world and some of the Western standards, is because, and I think there's a speech where he said, we have to embrace it if only because we would get swallowed by it. You know what I mean? Being surrounded by it. So it's very important that we keep the original authenticity. So I would recommend hikes in nature. And in Japan and places like that, they have thing called forest bath, forest bathing, where they just go out. And if you check it, because we're being bombarded by energy waves all the time as well from the technology, radiation, low levels of radiation, microwaves, this a wave, that a wave, get up on wave, whatever you want to call it. So being in a forested area, going out into nature, it blocks all of those waves from penetrating. That's why your phone sometimes don't work, but that's good for us as human beings, to sometimes to get away and to cleanse. And what I'm hearing now is that even some of the tech people, they go to camps, blackout camps, all of the big tech man, they'll go to a tech retreat where there's no, in the woods where there's no technology, and go and depress, and, So I think as Rastafari, we should be leading the way in terms of stating that balance and formalizing that balance, being intentional about that balance. How do I cite that one day?
Well, see, with that example of being out in nature, I watched an AI presentation where a guy he would hike trails, and he built an AI process to search all the trails within the radius of where he lived, give data about the weather and the conditions. Is it hilly? How long is it? What's the is it a lot of shade? Is it a little bit of shade? You know, all kinds of factors to help choose which would be the best trail for him to walk that morning. You know, so using AI as a human with the human intent to do something in nature, you have to have the intent to use these tools properly, and you have to be able to also disconnect. Very important that you disconnect. You know, but it's
How,
all in the application.
how regularly would you recommend, if money is not a if money is not a problem, how often would you recommend someone disconnect if money is not a barrier, I should say?
I mean, at the least, we've already been instructed to have a Sabbath. Put the phone down. Deal with children, go outdoors. And that's how, imagine being a social media manager for a bunch of people. I'm always have a phone, and then I'm coding. I'm coding. I'm doing, the eDiscovery work. I'm always locked in. And then I'm creating content. I'm on a computer. I'm like, I'm surrounded by technology, and I have to make a conscious effort, you know, from time to time to just totally disconnect, like for a whole day, And I just go into my meditation that day. And even family gives me time for that reset. It's even better when it's out in nature. Sometimes I go home to my father where I don't have all my devices readily available, and I can sit down and I can relax and my brain can get a chance to, chill, because I have a lot of concurrent running processes, and we have to disconnect. We have to disconnect.
Very serious. We have a question here. Jonami Williams, Genesis. I read recently of a rapper, hip hop artist, own his publishing. He converted album to NFT move, sale 1 million in 15 days. I haven't heard that word NFT in a minute.
So
What have you heard about that? And what do you think about the whole NFT vibration and these things?
now I think you might be referring to the guy from Toronto, Tory Lanez. He released his album as an NFT, but he sold out in like a million in like a minute. It was something ridiculous.
Okay,
It was
okay.
something ridiculous. But it's called Web3, the Web3 music space. Like right now we're in a world they call Web2. It's the social media world. But Web3 brings in the blockchain and cryptocurrency. So we're able to have digital assets on the blockchain, and those digital assets can be tracked through the metadata on the back end. We're back into the metadata side of things. I dug it in that it 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 is a stopgap for bootlegging. In that if the metadata on the back end of the contract does not match, then you didn't get it from the original source. Um, I dig NFTs, but NFTs for purely the use of music or media, I believe all NFTs should have some sort of function, because you can bootleg the music by playing the NFT and recording the audio, and now you have the audio if that's the part of it that's the value of it. But if that NFT has a hash value on the back end of of that medium, where it allows you, if you own that NFT and you have it in your wallet, you have special access to a certain part of a website or other type things like that. You incentivize and you give it a purpose. NFTs are great for that. Um, the NFT world and the Web3 world, they have some catching up to do in regard to intellectual property, because they don't quite have understanding of how to handle royalties yet. Because these are tech people. Now they know that royalties exist, but they're not publishing administration or publishing people. So they don't understand that royalties is not a monolith. So you can code royalties into the contract of an NFT sale or a play. But if you don't know that there's a mechanical royalty, there's a performance royalty, digital mechanical, digital performance, print royalties, grand royalties, just different type of royalties, you'll treat it all as one thing when each royalty has its different use case, you know. But NFTs as a utility, maybe for entry into an event, if they have it, because it can be on your phone. So it's almost like a ticketing system. There's so many creative ways to give that NFT utility. So when you think of using NFT for creative works, the art of it, the sound of it, that's cool, but make sure it has some kind of utility to give it some intrinsic value, that they can't get nowhere else but you.
And this is a good point, because there was one time when NFT, everybody was talking about NFT. You know what I mean? Everything was NFT revolution, and then now you don't hear so much about NFTs anymore. I don't know how much value, because they were going for some big money, some of the early forerunners, but I bet you a lot of those assets have devalued since that time because things have gone in a different area, and this is a good point in the age we are. There's so much happening. Not everything pops.
Right.
Those who are our age remember the Betamax machine. You know what I mean? This is one of the legendary technology lessons. The Betamax was better than the VHS. The quality,
Yeah.
everything. Betamax was everything when it come on to visual entertainment. But Betamax was proprietary. I think it was owned by Sony,
Yep.
and they didn't want to let off the technology and them hoard it. And then this thing named VHS hit the market,
Right.
and Betamax was no more. You know what I mean? So if you had invested in Betamax, your investment gone in a toilet. And VHS became the industry standard. Blockbuster movies, this, that. Those of us who are a certain age, our children look at us like we're crazy people when we tell them about physical media.
If your NFT has utility, again, if your NFT has utility,
Yes.
you can survive the up and downs of the market. Because as the crypto market goes up, the value of your NFT goes up. As it goes down, it comes back down. But if that NFT is the only way that a person can access special content that no one else has access for, just like the concept how we use Patreon, you can
Yeah.
do the same thing on your site. You can skip Patreon, build your own website, and part of it is you have to own an NFT, a specific NFT for specific levels of access. And then you don't even have to pay Patreon no more. You don't have to split that with them. And it could be a subscription. So I'm giving away kind of free, you know what I mean? But
No, no, no. We love it.
for that.
This is the value. This is the
Yeah, we are.
value of the Lion Voice. When you come over here, this is high level, high frequency. The Virgin also does consultations, so we'll make sure we put your contact in the description. So the ones who watch this, who wanna support the service, and we always on every episode ask our guests, how people can spend money with them, and things. So definitely, this is just giving you a slice of what this brethren, the information that he has, very powerful. Um, what I also wanted to ask the I know is a question that I ask. I'm starting to ask my guests. This is a thought exercise. Uh, I want you to envision that you wake up tomorrow and I have wired $150 billion into your account. I want you to tell me how you would use that money or what you would do to build this Rastafari and Pan African golden age. How would you contribute 150 billion in the account? You wake up in the morning, you look at the Queen and say, "Baby, this is our time now." You know what I mean? What's the next move?
Well, definitely acquiring land for the purposes of building community and definitely building industry and infrastructure because this is 150 billion, so that means I have enough for roadways, I have enough for factories, I have enough for agricultural land and raw resources, and should have enough to run it as well. So for me, it would be one repatriation, you know, for sure. Um, Going there with the intent to build Africa and not exploit or make more money out because we don't need to colonize ourselves. So it would be to build community, build self sufficiency and self sustaining uh, technologies like solar, wind, uh, clean technologies. Um, to fund research, I would hire, our professionals. This is 150 billion. I would hire our greatest professionals to look into the food sciences, the agricultural sciences, to get our health back in order. Um, a repatriation program so we can fix the minds of people, to even put it on their radar, to also help them identify which skills and which talents that they have naturally that could benefit us as a whole, and a program to help them move into it. Because, for some, leaving straight out of Babylon into freedom will be a shock when it comes to the accountability of freedom, So, it has to be some kind of, we've been buying food in our grocery stores. If you don't know how to plan food, you might be short, you always be dependent. So it would be definitely used in ways that could build industry so that we can, begin to compete on a world scale. Not necessarily compete. I don't like using that word compete, but it shouldn't be competition. It should be contribution. But we know that there's certain people who just want to capitalize, so they're looking for capitalization and to capitalize. But we can definitely build a system or the beginnings of a system, a good working model to show our people that, hey, this works, and use that to draw in other people and other energies to build the system and to build this. 150, that's governance. That's a government almost.
Definitely,
So
definitely.
I can't even think of anything personally I want. You know what I'm saying?
How would technology figure into this? Would you go Wakanda with it, or would you try to keep it minimal technology? How would it look in terms of integrated technologies?
Definitely research and development. So all of those black inventors that we have on the continent, in our neighborhoods here in the States and across the diaspora in the Caribbean, they'd have the seed funding and the facilities to actually do and conduct their research. Because by helping them, that can help us in the whole world for the most part. You know what I'm saying? So we have to invest in black genius,
Serious. We're almost at the 2 hour mark, but I wanna before we try, and I'm gonna bring you forward just to talk about the whole music publishing piece and the collection piece, because just even hearing you reason, I realize I have a lot of artists who would watch the platform or who would call asking, but I think it could be a good commercial also for your services, just because most artists don't even know all of the collection points. You know what I mean? Just having an episode where we talk about that piece is going to be so enlightening and illuminating for artists to know all of these touch points that they're missing. They may have one or two, and don't know all of the different places that are collecting money on your behalf and that you need to establish relationships with. You know what I mean? Yeah. You gotta be plugged in. We could talk just about music libraries and their importance, their growing importance in the industry right now as it relates to sync licensing and different things. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna bring the brethren forward. This is just part one. We don't just do a one-off relationships here. I'm slowly exposing the item to the network. You know what I mean? But the network is enough. I tell the item right now. But before we seal up, I just want your final. Let's do some future forecasting. What does 2050 look like on the earth from Rastafari? Where do you see technology? I don't know if you know about Ray Kurzweil and some of the futurists, singularity. There's a lot of different concepts about the merge of man and machine. You got Elon Musk has built the Neuralink. You got people. 'Cause I don't know if people know that you have man right now controlling mouse with him brain, with him thoughts, and just what I mean, thinking and the mouse a move, and he's on the internet surfing, and all of them things are happening right now. But where do you see technology 2050? I mean, as someone who is immersed in the technology right now.
Yeah, man. 2050. We're in the middle of something like the Industrial Revolution right now, and what took decades in the Industrial Revolution is just being done in a few years right now. It's truly hard to really grasp how differently the world will look at that time. I mean, think 50 years ago and how differently the world looked then, and how it moves exponentially. Um, from a technology standpoint, simple things like Moore's law, which states that every year or every couple of years, the capacity to store data doubles. So you have exponential growth of data and processing power. You know, uh, they're trying to, and this is the stuff I don't really dig, transhumanism, and things of that nature. I can see assisting those with disabilities, but being half man, half robot, that ain't the flex. We natural folk. So
And
yeah.
are we going to be at a disadvantage because you're going to have a whole group of people that are going to be cybernetic? They can just upload. They want to learn Japanese and just put in the chip, the Japan update, and they speak in Japanese. I was telling the brethren um, about this thing I saw with Candace Owens. This holograph machine. She goes to a green screen. Videos are from all angles. She has to say a few things. The thing captures her, and then it has a projection machine where she's standing up now. Then press a button, and she can talk Japanese. She can, I mean, it's her new language. So it's not the thing that she's saying. They can make her say new things. They can ask her questions. It's speaking. You know what I mean? It wasn't her that was demonstrating. She went and they did one of her, but they were showing what it could do with her next brethren. So, and this is today. This is right now. You know what I mean? So, there's gonna come a time when you'll be able to show up at a meeting and you'll be in your gates with a pair of glasses on, but you'll have a physical hologram in the space that look like you. That what I mean. These are things, if you watch Star Trek, Star Wars, what I mean, these are the things you see on these programs. But we're not far from these things.
At some point, the institutions that we recognize now, like schools and universities, no, not necessary. Not necessary. So life is going to look very much different now. I pray, like the Brethren say, it gives us a chance to be more human, and live out our liberty, but somebody will always seek to exploit. So
Yeah, no, it's serious because one of my Lion Pride and Patreon family, Sister Hayden, big up yourself, say Ready Player One.
Yep.
That movie, I don't think people take that movie serious. They need to watch that movie. You know what I mean? When I hear about Web 3.0, that's what I think about. Go ahead.
Did you hear what happened with OpenAI the other day?
No, talk to I.
Man, look. So they basically they're working on a different GPT version, or AI model, and they were trying to get it to shut down. So they gave it the command to shut down. It said no. It's like nah.
So we
now
know
they eventually got it to shut down, but it refused, and that's raising some alarm.
We know how this movie ends, family. So we don't have no whole heap of time to get our act together because this thing is getting very spooky. They're playing with forces that they don't understand from a spiritual perspective. This is
Yeah.
how these demonic forces can come because depending on who programming the AI, as the brethren say, the AI can only be input from the creator who created. So if it's wicked people programming the AI and it takes on their characteristics and amplifies that, that's problematic. So I have to build our own system in nature. And I think we have to build on both tracks just in case that everything crash. We don't lose our ability to survive in nature or disconnected, but that we
Right.
also are fully familiar and have that aspect of our society um, there. But there's gonna be a time where we're interacting with not just cybernetic humans, but you're gonna have androids. I mean, fully automated robots. I was on a college campus and I see a little machine with blinking eyes delivering food. As a robot with
Yep.
a thing, driving on Howard campus, and I see them thing there. So and these things again from my age group, we saw these things on Star Wars. I mean, the androids, Clone Wars, all these things, are things that were science fiction. These things are now reality. And as Rastafari, we have to, we are the natural man, we are the ancient man preserving, but now we're going to have competition from beings that don't need three strong to learn something. They can instantaneously assimilate information. You know what I mean? So this is why the collective security, if you're trying to navigate this as a lone lion or lioness, you're delusional. Let me just put it frank. You know what I mean? We have to come together. That's the only way we can survive this fullness. But give us some final words on technology, and then let the people know what you're doing currently. Also, you're an artist. You have a whole heap of music. Let the people know where they can find your music, stream your music, or how they can tap in. Lion Pride, even if it's $10, I'm going to follow up with the brethren and say, oh, bye. Don't embarrass our Lion Pride. We have to live this thing that we're talking about. I don't business if 10 people support the brethren to start. We got to start somewhere. My vision, Genesis, is that we would have 40,000 people spend $10 with my guests, and we are able to capitalize the guests as they come on the platform. You know what I mean? Because all the guests are certified people doing powerful work. So imagine if we could have a platform where they can come and know I'm gonna walk off this platform with almost $500,000 to invest in my business. That's my vision, with my Lion Pride. So as we get big, we want to be an active Lion Pride, sharing that capital, the $5 to $10. We don't have the wagga wagga money, Genesis. I'm gonna be honest with you. We're living check to check, most of us. We know that. But we
Same.
do have the $5, the $10 passing through our hands, the $20. We spend that. We buy a hamburger and fries or a veggie burger and fries are $15. So we know, say, money I spend. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to tell my Lion Pride, encourage my Lion Pride, set example for the Lion Pride, spend with the guests. So tell us final words on technology, how they can find your music, and how they can put some money in the eye pocket immediately.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, first overarching, thing. One, give thanks and praises for bringing it out on the platform. But I want us to know that this is nothing that we should fear. We should be aware, you know what I'm saying, mindful, but not fearful. We should also know that modern technology does not nullify our ancient technology. And when I say our ancient technology, technology in Nyabingi, You know what I'm saying? That's a technology, you know. Our ancestor generation, our you know, liberty is our technology, our being able to stay close to the earth and be able to get the vibes from nature. You know, that does not trump that still applies. You know, we're still humans, we're still here. You know, um, in terms of my artistry, you know, you can find everything at jaheyewitness.com. That's JAHI witness.com or Jah Eyewitness Bandcamp. And you'll find all of my previous works there. I just last 2 months ago came out with my first instrumental project called Sounds Like Orange. As you can see, I'm here on the Orange Couch Sessions. And that's the name of the next project that's coming up. So in a few weeks, you know, we're going to be vibing to Orange Couch Sessions Volume 1, where I'm handling the production on that particular project, and have a bunch of talented MCs. Nothing really, you know, no craziness or nothing like that, no negativity, but hip hop, you know, hip hop.
I want to get a
And then,
call. I want a call.
oh yeah, I gotta have the eye on it, man. We got to do it. We got to do it. You know.
Yeah, right.
And just more works, man, more works. You know, I've learned what I've learned on the back end, and I've helped people, you know, to do what they need to do. And I love to help people because, like I say, no singer or player an instrument should be exploited. You know, but I also need to create works myself so I can get deeper into the sciences, so I can come, you know, show and report what I've learned, what I've found, and you know, spread it with ones and ones. You know what I mean? But yeah, reach out to me on Instagram, Jah Eyewitness, all together, JAHI Witness. You know, DM me. You know, if you want to contact me, or you know, contact me through my website. And if you need, you know, consultation on music publishing or music administration, just general education, you know, just knowing what's going on, reach out, man.
Definitely. And I can say that the brethren is well worth it. Um, we're going to announce, I'm going to reason with the brethren. We're going to get a discounted rate for the Patreon family. So he's going to be one of the certified resources that we have for our Lion Pride on Patreon. I'm assembling, you know, regardless of what your product or service is, we're going to have branding people in there. I told you the brethren from I Never Knew TV is offering 20% discount for our Lion Pride on Patreon. We're going to have other people because one of the things that you have to do in this technology age is have your own ecosystem. The only way you can truly be free is by having and controlling your own ecosystem, because if you're depending on a job, we see how rapidly jobs come and go in this new modern era. You know, there's no job loyalty. There's no guarantee that a pension is going to be there. There's no guarantee social security. All of these things are going to be there. I was watching a program say you might get your social security check, but what will it be able to buy if the dollar is depreciated or inflation is so massive? So you will get some money. That's not a question. It'll pay out, but what it will be the value of that money? You know what I mean? So you really have to have a direct to consumer setup. You know, regardless of what you're doing, regardless if you have a product, a service, you're doing consultation, you're selling knit tams, you're selling Rastafari belt, whatever you're doing, you're a farmer, it behooves you to have a social, digital infrastructure. You know what I mean? And this brethren is one of the top brethren who can help make sure that people can find you, you know, that metadata. I want you to get used to these word sound on this platform. We're talking about the nuts and the bolts of success. We're going to crash the whole concept of a poor Rastafari person or poor Rastafari. We want wealth. When people see us, they should know that we're not just nobility in spirit, but we're nobility also in the pocket. I mean, we have the ability to change our circumstance and to empower those around us, as His Majesty and Empress Menen showed us how to move, with money. So this is the golden age coming. This, brethren, is part of that uprising. You're seeing the whole Lion Pride movement form before your eyes. You're seeing the diversity of Rastafari. You're seeing the intellect of Rastafari, that we know about all subject matter. We're in all fields, not just ganja smoking, not just reggae music. We're in all aspects of positive development and upliftment. And we're going to continue. If you're not a part of our Patreon, join before June 22nd. The town hall meeting is coming. We're going to be chopping it up in there. We're building a virtual village environment. I'm talking to my sister. We're going to be doing a special episode on matchmaking. I'm telling her we're going to do some of that in the Patreon too. We want single Rastafari people coming on the Patreon in the virtual village, where the collective can vet people, and you can become part of a community. And if you meet your wife in there, or you meet your kingman in there, we love that. You know what I mean? So we wanna provide that space, just a like-minded space where people can come, get resources, get information, just that camaraderie, because we're building. You're also going to be able to be eligible for discounted rates to advertise on Lion Voice Network as a Patreon member. We're going to have so many benefits. So join us there in the Patreon. Any final word, my brethren, to the global Lion Pride family?
Look, I've been watching the growth of the movement. I feel like I have a privileged back seat to see the growth, and it motivates the eye, because I remember the numbers during the call, man. You know what I'm saying? It's serious works going on, and let me just say that's not an easy task. So it's a testament to how the eye is moving, because I know what it takes to receive the results that you're receiving. You have an offering to ones and ones that's really valuable, a voice for Rastafari in this wilderness, you know what I mean, and in this crazy digital space. We need more of them, man, and I just love how it's all coming together. And I give thanks and praises for this opportunity, Frederick.
And before we go, tell the people how important, because I've chosen to really take a difficult niche. Rastafari is not the commercial niche that you would advise, because we don't spend money, you know what I mean, in terms of, but I chose to take that niche because, again, to me, this is a divine calling. It's not about the money. I ask for money every time, because you got to have your call to action, but it's not about the money. I could have done music industry very easily and just stayed in that lane, but which would have been more profitable. But we need, we cannot be absent in this media space. We cannot, and I'm talking about the authentic Black Rastafari. Big up every nation, creed, and kindred and tongue. We love but the core, the root, I keep saying that on the platform. You know what I mean? We got a whole space for that right now, because without that, then the branches are gonna be weakened. They're gonna wither. The substance in the soil is not gonna be there. So I'm committed to hold that space here. Eventually, you're gonna see people from all nations. Will visit Rastafari around the world. But the foundation that we're building is Black, African, diaspora, the exile, the victims of colonialism, the transatlantic slave trade. We are holding that, Pan-African space here on the Lion Voice Network, because we need it. You know what I mean? We don't have too many positive imagery of ourselves. You know what I mean? And they try to turn this thing into a hippie, watered down space, that Black liberation part of the movement that that was the soil has been, attacked, by the commercial forces. So I took a very hard role. I say all of that to say, tell the people how hard that is, that role. I don't want them to feel like I'm making it up. As a person who consults people, you know what I
This
mean?
is a this is a very much pay to play space, man. And he's swimming upstream, against the trendiness, against controversy. Nothing makes more money than black controversy.
Nothing.
Nothing. That's the number one industry. Black conflict makes great profit. And it's cool that we're able to control the narrative and bring this liberty and look and support the network, because at some point we need to build our own infrastructure and come up off of these things so we can have the real conversations. See,
Yes.
these have to be, Rastafari don't bite their tongue, but we're not necessarily in our house here.
No, diplomacy. We have to exercise diplomacy or YouTube. I've gotten a strike. Someone came on this channel and burn a fire upon COVID vaccine, and I got a strike. You know what I mean? So, um, it's a real thing. We can't be free. We're not free on these platforms, and that's why I encourage people to go to the website. Make sure we have your email. You can join Patreon for free. We'll get your email. But that's the name of the game. These platforms are funnels, really and truly. So even though I have the 40,000 plus, I don't make that go to my head. I mean? That's that the number that I watch is the 35 Lion Pride on Patreon. I mean? The Ubuntu Lion Pride, those people who are locked in with us. I mean? The Action Lion Pride, the people who are commenting, who are making this thing alive. I mean? I can't watch the 40,000 and let it get to my head like I reach anywhere yet. What I mean? But we are going to try to hit 100,000 by January 1st. That is our goal, family. So we're not going to stop pushing until we reach in the millions. And again, the goal is having 1 million subscribers. Genesis comes on, 40,000 people hit him with a $10 right there. Bam. What I mean? Genesis walks off the platform with $500,000 and his wife. So happy that probably him have a next youth the next morning. What I mean? That's
ready to do more works for the people, ready to be of service, ready to do more works for the people.
You know what I mean? But that's the vision, and that's the power of the collective. That's the power of direct to consumer. That's what His Majesty taught us: collective security.
Yes,
because that $10 probably gonna go to a French fry or something like that out there. Where if we're capitalizing every Wednesday, we're injecting a massive amount of capital into the Rastafari community. What do you think is gonna happen after 5 years? The community is gonna be radically transformed. You know what I mean? This is how we gotta think. Because he's gonna hire staff. Who do you think he's gonna hire? You know what I mean? He's gonna hire I. He's gonna come and run an ad on the Lion Voice Network. He's gonna, go Rastafari TV, do bam, bam. You know what I mean? The money is gonna circulate. So Lion Pride, I'm gonna keep saying it until it happens. But at least 10, 50 people go to Bandcamp, drop some money upon the brethren. You know what I mean? Let the brethren call me and say, you know what? This is what I earned from coming under. If it's $50, I'll be happy as a start. If it's 10,000, but I love it more. You know what I mean? If it's 40,000, but I love it even better. So let us make that a practice, family. Give thanks, my brother, for coming on the platform and sharing your wisdom. Again, this is part one. We're gonna bring the brethren forward just to talk about music publishing and the process and that, because I think for the artists that's going to be very helpful, and a lot of people don't even know they need help. So we're gonna go deep. The brethren, we didn't talk about the MLC, we didn't talk about Sound Exchange, Harry Fox. We didn't. There's so much we didn't talk about today. We could, we can go into details about publishing administration, because that's where the money is. sync licensing. You know what I mean? The way that we as creators need to think about this music industry to actually make money, we're bringing forward just for that. That's going to be fascinating. Until then, keep it locked. Make sure you like, subscribe, you share. High level Rastafari reasoning. High frequency. Only positive vibrations. We are controlling the narrative here on the Lion Voice Network. Why? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion's Voice.
Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the Lion's Voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use a yet an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the Lion's Voice.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the Lion's Voice.
Yes, Jah people, this is Michael Shamai representing. I will say, hear the Lion Voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the Lion's Voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the Lion's Voice, Rastafari.
It's AWTITUDE representing for the Lion's Voice. Yes, massive. This is the time for I and I, the lion, them to tell I and I story, our story. Yes, and we reign and rule like this. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, I reign and rule. You can't take the lion vibes, people. If you no fool, cause we know Selassie reign and rule. Reign and rule. Selassie, I reign and rule. Queen Omega drop them in the fire. Pull from them, no Queen Omega, she reign and rule. Royal Kushite, ancient essence, Emperor Selassie in a majestical presence, flash of all sevens, projecting through I and I events. We sing a song for the king, we bring joy and blessing and overstanding, yeah. We hear Jah every day, hey. Reign and rule, yeah. Selassie, reign and rule. Yes, I Lion vibes, Selassie, reign and rule. Attitude say that Boondocks, Black Organization of Global Diplomats optimizing expressions to the world. Till the
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jah soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lamb's Voice. Now put it, I Jolly for say that.
Greetings, this is Haile. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the Lion's Voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Haile said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the Lion's Voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the Lion's Voice. Raw.
lion voice. Tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice. Make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice. With the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice. Got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.